r/entitled Karens.
Karen surprised I'm the owner of a flat. After a lifetime of savings and lucky career choices, I managed to climb up the property ladder and buy a nice 3-bedroom penthouse for me and my family. I used to live in a rented flat located in another building in the very same development and decided that I would do the move myself. I persuaded a friend with some beer, rented a van, and after 3 hauls we were almost done. The flat has 2 marked private parking bays. My car was parked in one and I was using the other one to park the van as it was near the service lift entrance. I drive in and there's a lady, our Karen, using my parking bay to unload some plants and gardening stuff. For added context, this is in West London. She looks super English. I'm from Latin America and definitely look Latino. I was wearing cargo pants, gloves, and driving a van. I parked near her car and politely waited until she unloaded everything in the boot. She noticed I was waiting and came to tell me that she was leaving her car there as her parking bay was being used by a decorator. Smaller flats in this building have only 1 parking bay. She then proceeded, obnoxiously, to tell me that I needed an authorization from management to be there. I then asked her if she had authorization to use that parking bay, and she tells me that this parking bay near the service lift is reserved to owners and that I couldn't use it. I pointed at the sign that says Flat 07 and told her that I am the owner of the flat and that these are private parking bays. I told her that I would be happy to wait until she takes her stuff to her flat, but that I would need the parking space and she could not leave her car there. She looked at me in disbelief and, in an awkward Freudian slip, said,
"But 07 is the penthouse. I'll call the management to check if it has really been sold."
Then it finally registered that she couldn't believe that someone like me would be the owner of a flat in this building. I got out of the van and politely said, "Hey, I understand you don't believe I'm the owner, but if you don't take your car out of my parking bay right now, I'll take a picture and send it to the development manager. I'm pretty sure you know there's a £100 fine for parking in someone else's bay." She drove away just to come back 10 minutes later with the development manager, who looks at me and awkwardly says,
"Oh yeah, this is Mr. Neelabake who just bought Flat 07.
The look in her face was priceless.
Homophobic Karen called the cops over rainbows.
"This is my first post, so sorry for the errors. I am a cashier at a small cafe, so I encounter a few Karens here and there, but this Karen is at the top of my list. This happened last Tuesday morning. It was a rainy day, just 10 to 15 minutes after we opened, and because our store is far from the main road, our cafe doesn't really have a lot of customers. I was at the counter taking orders as usual when an elderly woman, maybe 55 to 60 years old, the elderly woman, I'll call her Karen, ignored the line and walked straight up to the counter in front of me, while her daughter, I'll call her Katie, went in line like everybody else. I told Karen that she could not do that because there were other people before her. She felt offended and said,
"I'm an elderly woman. The line is so long. I should be prioritized."
There were only 3 people in the line, including her daughter. Luckily, the man that was supposed to order at that time was not in a hurry, and he told me it was fine. Karen looked at me like she was proving a point or something. I took Karen's order, and she yelled at Katie to join her at the front, but Katie said she'd just wait in line. While waiting for their order, Karen noticed the poster with a pride flag and a rainbow-themed drink. She then shouted loudly,
"You support these F***TS. What have they done to this country that you should support them? They ruined the country. That's what they did."
The whole place fell silent the moment she said that. Katie lowered her head, apologizing for not daring to look up. Their order arrived shortly after the rain stopped, and it was peaceful for a moment. If you think that's the end of it, think again. Karen looked out and got mad again. She was yelling and cussing nonstop. I got out of the counter and asked her and Katie to leave because Karen is disruptive and other customers are getting scared and concerned. Karen, on the other hand, is shouting,
"Take it down! I said, take it down!"
I am getting annoyed at this point because it hasn't even been 9 a.m. and this lady is already draining my energy spouting BS. We don't even know what her problem is at this point. I calmly told her again to leave or we would call the police. Karen looked at me and her face was just red with anger. She pulled out her phone and called the cops herself. The cops arrived and asked what was wrong. Then Karen yelled,
"Take that down! Take that G*YS*HT down!"
The police asked what she was talking about, and Karen pointed it out. We looked at it and burst out laughing. She was referring to the rainbow in the sky. As I mentioned earlier, it was raining that morning, so naturally when the rain stops there will be rainbows, and Karen was mad at that. The cops arrested her for disturbing the peace and for calling the police for this nonsense.
Take off your mask.
I was just out mowing my lawn. Hopefully for the last time this year. A neighbor came by walking her dog. She stopped and started saying something. I shut off the mower, removed my ear protection, and walked over to her. The first words I could understand were,
"You really don't have to wear a mask."
Before I could reply, she went into a rant about how COVID is a hoax and wearing a mask doesn't really protect you and it's just a government plot to control us and China is making millions selling us masks we don't need and even Biden now says the pandemic is over and I don't need a mask when I am all alone in my front yard. When she finally stopped to take a breath, I removed my mask and told her that I always wear it when mowing my lawn because the pollen and grass clippings make me cough and sneeze. She pondered that for a moment then said,
"Oh. Well, I guess that's okay."
And went on her way.
Not even friendly service saved it.
I think this is the sub to put this in. I just thought about it honestly. So I, 21F, worked at McDonald's for a few years. There are so many stories I could tell if Karens or people way too inappropriate. But no, just this one. So to make this clear, I have a very sweet customer service act. A higher voice, welcoming demeanor. I know how my coworkers can be and I would have to interact with them if I was a customer, and I often experienced this at other places. I never want to be that person. At this time I was 19 years old and back from college, so this was one of the last times I was working. Actually, it was one of my last days in general. I was taking orders and cash per usual. I was on lane 1, one of my managers was standing directly next to me taking orders on lane 2. I was in a perfectly happy mood, I was even playing Pokemon Go. I just kept dropping lures. The line was not moving so fast because of the food, and my manager didn't mind because it was keeping me occupied and from fidgeting, she knew I would stop when it picked up. But all that's to say I was incredibly chipper and sweet interacting with customers when taking their money. Especially knowing I was off soon. Cue this Karen. I don't know who took her order, me or my manager, but she got to the window. I do what I do. I repeat her order entirely, ensure it's right, which gets me a snappy yes, and then let her know her total. As I say, thank you, and take the money, I hear,
Drop the attitude.
I do not initially think it's towards me because it's A, very low, and B, as I said, I'm in a very good mood and being sweeter than our sweet tea. If I hadn't been, my manager would let me know. So I get her change and receipt, hand it out, she snatches it, and tell her, have a nice day, smiley face. Which is immediately met with her /screeching/.
Lose your fucking attitude.
Before she then tears out of our parking lot, tires screeching. I had the most confused look on my face I guess, I'm sure it mirrored my managers who had been standing directly next to me. She didn't get her food, because she left, but she did call to demand I be fired for insulting and harassment. Our interaction spanned only the 2/3 sentences I said to her and then her uncalled for reactions.
Karen wanted the perfect margarita.
When I used to bartend and serve tables at an Irish pub that obviously specializes in Irish beers, whiskey, etc., I dealt with a mega Karen. It was a Saturday night and a concert just let out. When this happens, we get extremely busy. One server called off that night, so I had 12 tables all to myself. I was very busy. All my tables were so awesome until the mega Karen walked in with 3 other people. I went to greet them to get their drinks. When I asked Karen for her drink order, it was the most insane drink order I have ever received at that Irish pub: a frozen peach and strawberry margarita with extra sugar on the rim and 5 strawberries on the rim. Yes, she specified 5. Ordering a blended drink at an Irish pub is extremely rare. Our cooks were behind, so I had to cut up the strawberries myself while the bartenders dusted off the blender, JK, but you get the point, to make her the drink. We didn't have the right peach flavoring, so they just made a strawberry margarita with the sugar on the rim. After I was finished cutting up the fucking strawberries, I placed them on the rim and walked the drinks over to her table. Keep in mind, I still have 11 other tables. The second I set her drink down, she pushed it off the table. I walked away because I was so angry. I went immediately to the owner of the bar, almost in tears, because I was so mad. He was so mad because he saw me cutting up the strawberries for her and asked why I was doing that, but appreciated the fact that I was helping the cooks out and was shocked someone ordered a drink like that. After explaining to him what she had just done, he went over to the table and kicked them out. I'll never forget that feeling of standing behind the owner with this large grin on my face watching her get kicked out. She glanced at me and I waved by with the biggest smile on my face. She looked so infuriated. I'll never forgot the look on her face with 6 chins. I am so glad I didn't have to endure her food order. Best boss ever. The previous restaurants I worked would have told me to suck it up.